Hey everyone, it's Nick with Us versus Herd. If it's your first time here, you like the content, hit subscribe. If you want to get notifications from when we go live or post videos like these, tap the bell. And if you want to join the UVH fam, our community, the links are below to our free options trading group and our Discord. I want to go through today some of the top mistakes I see beginners or new traders make, or even sometimes I make them. Like sometimes I go back and say, man, that was a beginner mistake. You know, we all make mistakes, whether you're a new trader, experienced trader, or anything in between. You know, you're bound to make mistakes. You're bound to overreact. You're bound to get your emotions all wrapped up. So that being said, let's get to it. You know, the number one mistake that I see is people using 100% of their funds to trade. So, you know, what I mean by that is they say, hey, I'm going all in. I see this trade, I'm going to go all in. We're going to make bank, or we're going to go broke. And that is the worst possible idea you could probably have, because you're gonna probably blow up your account. You have a 50% of chance of blowing up your account, which, in my opinion, is not very good odds. And you know, any time that I put on a trade, you gotta think about it as like, okay, if I do this trade, the question is, will I be able to trade tomorrow? Will I be able to trade again? Will I be able to go on? If the answer is no, if this trade goes against me and the answer is no, you know, don't put it on. Don't put it on. Don't go all in because you feel like you can make 100%, 500%, 6,000%, whatever the case is. Like, oh, I could take my $1,000 account to $20,000 if I do this, and you know, all that stuff. You know. And the way to make money in the market is not to have big swings in your P&Ls. It's to have consistent returns, consistent profits, scalability. You know, once you reach a certain level, you can scale out a little bit, but you don't want to use 100% of your funds. You know, you want to be using 25% at the most. And you're like, well, you know, I can't afford to buy these things. And at the end of the day, options cost what they cost. If you have a small account, and when I say small account, some people say I only have $50 to trade. If you only have $50 to trade or $100 to trade, you shouldn't be trading. You know, I hate to break it to you. You know, take some more time, paper trade, save your money. When you're able to have more money, like $1,000 account, start out with $1,000, which is still a very small account. Start with $1,000, and while you're saving for that $1,000, paper trade. The next thing is FOMO, or chasing. A lot of people, you know, they'll start to chase when they see, oh, others are making money here, or oh man, this thing's really running. And you know, kind of for an example, the other day, AMD ran from 27 all the way up to 29, and then gave it all back. You know, and people were chasing that. Within 45 minutes, it ran from 27 up to 29.50, and then came all the way back down to 27. Gave everything back. Give it an 8% gain back. And I do see people all the time. Oh, I'm going to get in, and then you know, you don't necessarily know when things are moving fast. Just so you know, if they're moving fast up or moving down fast, they could reverse fast as well. So, you know, keep that in mind. You know, kind of like the Bitcoin thing, or anyone chasing is not a good idea. Most of the money that I make is kind of like developing a plan, sticking with it, not chasing, not getting in. If things are already running and I don't have a position, I usually don't go in because I missed it. You know, if I notice that a position that I have on and the stock starts moving really fast, I'll look to sell because I know that that's not going to continue forever. It's not going to continue forever. You know, the same thing with Baidu. You know, ran from 108 up to 112 within a day, and then the next day, you know, I see other people get very greedy with things like this. They're like, oh, it's going to go up more tomorrow. The question is, why would it go up more tomorrow? You know, and some people will say, hey, I'm already up 100%, 200%. I'm going to hold overnight because it's going to give up tomorrow. You know, that's not promised. That's not promised to you. Gains are not promised to you. You know, it's very hard to make money in the market. You know, some people say, oh, this is easy, and this is if it's so easy, you know, then everybody would be millionaires. Everybody would be making money hand over fist, and that's not the case. You know, if you think making money in the market's easy, you're gonna get burned sooner than later. It's coming for you. You know, the market will come for you. Arrogance is gonna beat that out of you. You know, the market's gonna beat that arrogance right out of you. And you know, so the other day Baidu went up, and people will hold. It went up from 107 up to 112, and held. And people hold overnight all the time and say, oh, I'm gonna hold this. I'm up 200%, but I'm gonna hold it. And the next day, it dropped in the first 15 minutes from like $12 down to 108. and they immediately lost their gains, wiped out, plus they probably paid some back, and that's unfortunately that's how you learn. But that's why I'm kind of doing this video, is some of the things that I've noticed over the last year or two doing this channel, and some of the things that people bring up to me is how, why did I lose money? And you have to think, before I put a position on, I think about all the ways that the market can screw you. If you don't know how to, if you don't know much about shorting options, if you don't know much about buying options, there's a lot of ways the market can screw you. You kind of have to think about it. You kind of put yourself in the other person's shoes. When you're buying an option, that means somebody else or someone else is selling that to you. Everyone in the market's out to get money. You want to grow your account. They want to grow your account. Their idea of growing their account is taking your account down to zero. Your idea of growing your account is just to sell, buy something cheap and sell it for more expensive, or whatever the case is. If you're shorting options, you wanna sell a contract to somebody else, wear that down to basically nothing, and that's just the way it is. So if you're not familiar with those ways, you have to figure out, understand the buying and the shorting side of things. That's really going to help you understand how to make money in the market. If you understand both sides, right now some people just know how to buy options. If you just know how to buy options, you're not seeing the other side of this. You're not seeing the advantage that the other person has. And there's a time and place for every strategy. There's a time and place to buy options. There's a time and place to short options. You just have to identify what strategy you want to use for the type of market conditions that we're in. The other thing is that people get too aggressive, or they start to revenge trade. Let's say, you put a position on Apple, some news comes out, it goes against you, and you're getting super angry, and you're down on the day. And when you're starting to get emotions involved in trading instead of staying mechanical, almost like robotic in a way, it kind of sounds bad, but when you get your emotions and you start to revenge trade, you're going to incur more losses. And if you go to Walmart and the guy that was at the cashier set, piss you off, don't take that out on the stock, because you're not going to matter. I hate to say it, but traders like us, we don't matter to the overall market performance of a Walmart or Apple or anything. If you have a bad experience, or if you're just trying to get green on your P&L for the day, sometimes it's best, it'll save you a lot of money, just step away and say, hey, I didn't see the market well today. That's okay. I'm going to step away, because you're going to start incurring more losses if you try to offset your losses. If you try to balance it out. I mean, there's ways that you can balance it out in a meaningful way. Maybe you had a loss, and I do it all the time. You guys see me on the live stream where if I'm taking a loss, I'll take another trade somewhere else to kind of offset and balance. But never do I go in trying to like revenge trade or angrily trade, because that's going to make you increase your losses that day probably 5 to 10 fold. Instead of losing $100, maybe you're going to lose $500 that day, and that's not something that you want to do. You're going to wake up tomorrow morning and be like, man, why did I do that? Another thing is, people are buying them too far out of the money and too close of expiration. So what they'll do is they'll say, okay, SPY, I'm going to buy something $5 away, and it's only going to cost me 10 cents, and it's worth the risk, even if it goes to zero. But you don't realize how that impacts your overall P&L. Maybe you might hit it every once in a while, but buying stuff far out of the money and buying very cheap options generally is not going to net you consistent returns. If you say, oh, it's only $10, only $10, it's kind of like, the Starbucks effect, when they say, hey, if you buy a coffee every day, you're actually spending like what, $400 a month at Starbucks. Well, it really adds up, right? So if you're spending $10 to $20 on a play that may or may not work out, that's, first of all, you have no plan there. You're just gambling. Second of all, if you do that 10 to 20 times, you're going to be down 100, 200, 300, and over the course of the year, that's really going to impact your P&L. Especially for like Robinhood traders to say, hey, I don't want to pay any commissions. You're basically paying out a lot of money in trades right there that may not work out. So, hopefully that sheds a light on some of the mistakes that I've seen, people asking me questions or just things that I've done in the past, and we all make mistakes. Like I said, doesn't matter if you're experienced or brand new. You're bound to make mistakes, but the best thing that you could do is learn from those mistakes. Turn those losses into lessons learned. Stay safe, stay green. It's always us versus herd.